Hello everybody, welcome to Amsterdam. Let's see when the chat starts. There's the chat. Hello Tish, hello Ruth, shalom, welcome. Hey, happy Purim Ruth. Hi Susan, Kevin, people, hey, hi, so welcome. We're still on the Herengracht, as we'll be for another couple of weeks. So the Gentleman's Canal. And let me show you how nice it looks this evening. I don't think this is working. Is this working? Can anyone? Oh, you can hear me now. Good. It looked like it had malfunctioned. Hey, great. Okay, you've seen me. Awesome. I kind of think sometimes I'm talking into a void. Hello, everybody. And oh, thank you, Madeline. So yeah, you're getting to know this view a bit, yeah? So more on this canal. It's a lovely day, by the way. It's a little bit chilly, but sort of 10 degrees centigrade or something like that, probably 55 Fahrenheit. But it's been beautifully sunny. Hello Ronnie, and hey Tariq, welcome. And my daffodils have started to spring out. My kind of fancy ones that I bought at Kokenhof Gardens last year. I'm really pleased about that. So, let's see. What number are we starting at? Here we go. Number 285. Here we go. This is it. This is the one here. So there's a little alleyway here called Groene Kaars te Steeg here. A little green candle alley. And there's a number. Hey, look at this nice detail in the window. Got red KLM houses. Well, not KLM houses, but you know what I mean. Very Christmassy. Adrian's here, welcome. Okay, I found an interesting photograph of this house, number 285. So it's just a whole line of taxis coming. I just let them pass. And then pedestrians, and then bicycle. Right, here we go. Crossing the road is difficult today. Okay, so this house here is a photograph of it from some time ago. It's what you call like a little kind of a whoopsie. Don't see that too often. On the night of the 27th of February 1927, this house here ended up looking like this on the right. And it was like a big bada boom. A huge big explosion. There's a film company there was anyway, and everything was destroyed. The cornice survived, and they built the house again, but they didn't build it as high as that. Okay, so that's just a bit of random stuff to start with. So now the next building was somewhat controversial in all its different forms. I'm not going to show you the building just yet, but 7 houses were demolished to build the telephone exchange. And that was built in 1916, okay? And hey, welcome Annette. And here is the one from 1916. It was not popular. Okay, I mean, it received quite a lot of criticism. I don't think it's that bad, frankly. And it was demolished in 1955, and it was replaced by this. Okay, that is what went up in its place. You know, not surprisingly, this building was not warmly received, shall we say. And yeah, I mean, talking about going from bad to worse, I mean, what were they thinking? I mean, they said this was a modern take on a canal house or a line of canal houses. I'm like, yeah, okay. So now that you've seen it, have a look at the beast itself. Here we go. In all its magnificence. So, one newspaper wrote, it's a classic example of failing aesthetic supervision. Another critic wrote, it was the greatest architectural failure after the war and a barbaric piece of insignificance. And yet another comment from another paper was, like I'm doing now. Now people walk past the new building. That's just a sad story for the layman. A horizontal concrete band with concrete uprights between which the masonry is set. A pale yellow barren facade with virtually no profiling, with nasty little dull windows. That would be these, with nasty little dull windows. Right where our low to the ground self meets this building. Wow, just tell us how you feel, you know. So yeah, it's had a bit of bad press, understandably. Let's try and find one or two nice things about it though. It was the telephone exchange. So here's an old telephone handle and an even older one. It looks like a jail. Yep. BTT, how we say it. Posten Telecommunicatie. Now there is a famous architect, a sculptor rather, called Hildo Krop, and he's the one who did so many beautiful whimsical creatures all over the bridges and what have you. Only seen one or two of those. There's loads coming later. They're brilliant. And what he did, he was involved, and he made this sculpture here. I'll just zoom. Oh shoot! This sculpture here. So you see all sorts of stuff going on. There's a windmill. There's a boat. Oh, looks like football over there. Various bits and bobs. Sailors, I think. And the zigzag line is actually showing a telephone line and how that joins people together. Anyway, there's a weird thing about this building in that in 2003, let me zoom out for you so you can enjoy its finery. In 2003, it was accused, I think quite rightly, of permanently spoiling the cityscape. And demolition was proposed. However, by a very strange twist of bureaucracy, it's actually the back end of a much older building on the next canal, and that older building is protected. So this one falls under the same protection, and it can't actually be demolished. How weird is that? Everybody loves a sailor. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, so right next to it over here, this is a building that had to be built in 1919 when the original, or the previous building was built, because it disturbed the foundations of the old canal house next door. Now this one is Amsterdam School architecture. It's a bit of a strange one, I must say, but it does have some nice little flourishes. Certainly better than its neighbour. Things like that. I think these are really weird. I can't quite work out what they're meant to be. Looks like it's a bit of Frankie street art, really. And you know what's so nice about Amsterdam School is the really kind of the fun use of brickwork, and you really see that here. They have brickwork in all different directions. Vertical bricks are a big thing. So, right. as are those two. Oh, now let me show you this before I forget from this side of the canal, because I'm going to go up close to this one. A face, maybe, who knows? So, this is an interesting building, and they let me inside this morning. I rang them up at 9 and said, hello, I'd really like to come inside and take some photos and stuff. And they're like, yeah, sure, come on round. Okay. Here's up to a nice couple of fruits. So, just when we get there, lovely views. Probably shown you this building enough. But isn't it a blot on the landscape? Let me just show you its predecessor, because it was more or less from here. So that's the predecessor. And this is what we've got. Crazy, isn't it? Okay, yeah. Wow, this angle looks incredibly wide on the lens at the moment. Okay, so now we're on to Herengracht number 286. 286. Let me show you here. Voila. And let's see. This is, let me start with the full view. It's Amsterdam School with neo influences. Okay. So, oh gosh. Sorry. Ooh, trying not to fall on the canal. It's more neo architecture with Amsterdam School influences, really. So, what is neo about this? Well, it's, even though it looks very modern, it does have a little bit of a kind of a nod to classicism. So, these are colossal pilasters. So, they go right up like a column, and thinking that it didn't have a capital, like a column top, but check it out. There is actually some decorative brickwork up there, which is meant to be, or it is, the capital of the pilaster. It's just in a form that's very unusual. And then above it is what's called the entablature. So that would be, oh, where's my, I'm trying to get my finger in shot. Oh, I can't find, where are we? I'm trying to point. So that would be the architrave, the frieze and the cornice at the top over there. And anyways, so yeah, that is why it's actually a little bit classical in nature. And you know, the Amsterdam School influences talk for itself. This wonderful kind of metalwork, very typical. Great lanterns outside the door. And then the door itself is wonderful. Check this out. I'm wondering, this was built by the same architect who built what is now Soho House, and I'm very curious to know whether they'll let me inside of the camera or not. Who knows? Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. So, very, very interesting, very pretty, nice details. Has a very dark... Okay, no, before I tell you about the dark history, let me show you inside. Okay, so here we go. Let me just straighten out the phone. Okay, this is some photos I took inside and I kind of put them together. This is just walking in, and then there's a revolving door which is kind of made to be open. Great big hallway down the middle to the back. stairways like this, pretty cool stairway. And then looking upwards, there's a very nice skylight. Really beautiful skylight. There's a close-up of it. And I'm just going to pause it there for a moment, because something quite wonderful is like when the original buildings were torn down, what they did is they kept the cornice and they put it on the garden house. So this is the cornice of one of the original three buildings up on the garden house, and you can get right up to it. It's so weird to be so close to a cornice which is normally right at the top of the building. I thought that was way cool. Like really super to be able to see. Anyway, so now about this building, and I'll just do a pan around as I tell you the story about it. There was a company called the Deli Company, not about New Delhi. Delhi was a sultanate in North Sumatra, which was part of Dutch Indonesia. Now, the Sultan of Delhi gave a concession to a Dutch man named Nieuwenhuis to grow tobacco there. Now, the local inhabitants, not surprisingly, didn't want to work on the tobacco plantations. So in 1864, he brought in 120 poor Chinese workers. They were known as coolies, poor Chinese workers. They were cheap labor. Now in 1867, so just 3 years later, Nieuwenhuis was indicted there for flogging 7 Chinese workers to death. Okay, well, a really nasty piece of work. He was banished from there, but he put somebody else in to control the company and started the Deli Company and scaled up the plantations using this forced labor system. And every year, thousands more of these laborers were brought. And in 1890, 20,000 more were brought, 200,000 in total over the whole plantation period. Now, they were called laborers, but they were, in reality, for all practical purposes, enslaved. Now, there was a teacher in 1920 who worked on the plantation, and I'm quoting from something the teacher wrote: "Delhi is a land of gold, a haven for the capitalist, but a land of sweat, tears, and death, a hell for the workers. The coolies were forced to work, they were slaves. They worked from dawn to night, receiving enough wages to fill their stomachs and cover their back. They lived in a shed like goats in their cages, and they were called godverdomme, and could be beaten any time and lose their wives and daughters as desired by the master." Now, this exploitation resulted in extreme profits. The company was in existence for 74 years and had sales of $40 billion in today's money. Okay, so you can see how, the European powers became so rich from colonialism, for example. Now, Nieuwenhuis lived a very comfortable life here in Amsterdam, and I think next week, perhaps the week after, we will see the very remarkable house that he built with these ill-gotten gains. This was his home, and it's now home to the NIOD, which is the Institute for War, Holocaust and Genocide Studies. Let me show you a picture of that. It's over here. This building works outside, so it's a pretty ugly yellow house, but that's just coming up in a week or two. A week or two. So yeah, that's just one story. There are many sort of dark stories. There he is. Okay, but on to the next block. I love the way these two little houses are just like little twins next to each other. So small. What is it now? The building has just been renovated, Laurie, and it's all sorts of different businesses on different floors. Okie dokie. So. It feels like a bit of a scrappy little section, this. Oh look, rustication. You know how much I love that. Nice front doors though, check them out. Jeepers. Oh, roads are busy today. It's gorgeous front doors. Window full of plants. Nice reflection on the window again. Huh. Number 314 is over here. There's this one. Really unusual wide neck gable. Let's see how good this zoom is. You can see the details. Oh, you can kind of see. It's got dolphins. Well, what they thought of as dolphins on either side. I always find it very strange for a seafaring nation how their knowledge of dolphins was so hit and miss, because you see a lot of dolphins like this all over the place. In 1722, this house was bought for 30,000 guilders. That's a lot of money. Already, hell of a lot of money then. By a guy called Nicolaas Romswinkel. He lived from 1660 to 1727, and he was from Lisse. Let me try and zoom out again. He was from Lisse, which is just near Kokenhof Gardens. I'm going to be with you in a couple of weeks. And he was a merchant, and he was based in Archangel, which is in Russia. And that was from 1679, and Tsar Peter the Great was his guest there. Tsar Peter went to Archangel in 1693, and he ordered a shipyard to be built there. But, you know, because remember, he came to Europe to learn about shipbuilding, and he wanted to build up a Russian navy. But because that port was icebound for 5 months of the year, Peter the Great decided in 1703 to found St. Petersburg. Okay. And oddly enough, and also in 1703, Nicolaas Romswinkel, which I find really odd for somebody who's Dutch, was mayor of Moscow. Okay. How's about that? Oh, here's a lovely door as well if you'd like. Let's check out some nice doors. Beautiful, eh? See, got the railing in the way. Another nice door. Rococo one here, Louis XV. Kind of feathers. Another neo-style building here. Mishmash. And I don't recognize the name Nudge. I haven't seen Nudge before. Anyway. Welcome, Nudge. Okay, let's talk about this one. So, this is a building from 1913. And I think maybe a bit later. No, 1922. I love it when they do that. It's got the number up at the top. Right at the top of the building. And 3 houses were demolished for this one. And this is neoclassicism with Art Nouveau touches. So we had neoclassicism with Amsterdam School touches, just a few buildings up. Now we're into the Art Nouveau ones. And the doorway has pilasters. And look at the beautiful capitals. They're doves. Very sweet. It must be really nice, fun to be an Art Nouveau designer and just have fun with all these sort of classical forms, but with different motifs. It has this fedoras. Oh my goodness! I never really looked at these very much until now. Look at the birds, like birds of paradise facing each other. These ones here. Gorgeous. Hello, Ben. Is that Ben from the charge show? Pink hand. Yeah, there's got to be a pink hand, there's got to be a finger from time to time. Right. Okay, above the door, got a few things which are pretty self-explanatory. So there's a snail, which is not surprisingly representing the earth. A fish for water, although that fish looks a bit out of water. The sun in the middle, keeping it all going. There's the dragon breathing fire. And the bird representing the air. And then right at the nice curved window, a typical Nouveau kind of thing. Right at the top, there is like a medallion with a profile of two faces. Now this was actually built for a paper trading company, and the thought is that these two profiles were the people who owned that company. Lutke and Smith is the name of the company. Right. Now, on the other side of the canal is the Ambassade Hotel. And I'm very excited about this because, you know, I've been trying to get permission to go into places. It's down there. And I didn't notice their email giving me permission last week, so I could have gone on Tuesday, but actually I couldn't because I was doing an all-day tour anyway. And I have an appointment tomorrow, so I'm going to go there tomorrow, and they're going to allow me to film some footage in the reception rooms, and they got a beautiful book collection, they got an interesting art collection, so I'm really looking forward to that. So I'm going to be talking about that next week. Oh, look at this this gable that's lost its head. Lost its head over here. Funny that. I don't put something on the top. Okay, so across here is a very charming little place called, it's a Proeflokaal. Let me just get directly opposite it. And they were also very welcoming and agreeable, and allowed me to come one morning and film inside. So look at this. So it's a house, and then there's a funny little tower with a turret on the one side. Okay, originally this was a house in an alleyway, and the little tower with the turret, yes, Laurie, that's the Ambassade. And so I'll be there next week. It's been a coach house here. So originally there was a house, and then there was a coach house built. Oh, Susan, I hope so. And since 1889 it's had this coach house format. And the little alleyway that's been replaced here had a rather charming name. It was Flasbloemsteeg, which means flax flower alley. And it became a beer bottling plant and a liqueur distillery. And then since 1974, it's been a tasting room come restaurant, hence a Proeflokaal. And for Genevers. And let me show you a little video from inside. Here we go. vase Proeflokaal. It's a very unusual little entrance here, where I've often been to have a drink or have mussels with fries. Moules frites is something that they do really well also. As you can see, and cheese fondue and lots of beers. It's got a really lovely brown cafe kind of feel to it. And check out all the Geneva bottles here. So there's loads of different liqueurs, because this is actually the official tasting house, tasting bar of the Nouveau. This is a distillery that I had to look at from the outside on Detailed Amsterdam number 6. That's right at the top of the Jordaan district. So this is where you can taste all 15 of their Genevers and 60 plus liqueurs. So that's a great thing to do here as well. Go and drive afterwards. Yeah, it's very cozy and very nice. There's a bunch of their stuff that they do. And what I often do actually, when I go on little trips on my boat, is I moor up outside and then pop in for a bite to eat or a drink. We do a little bar hop on the boat. Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me, Madeline. If you could thumbs up like this video, if you've liked it, that would be pretty awesome. And if you can go, once it's finished, and leave a comment underneath the actual video, that's really, really helpful to me. This is where I moor the boat. And one last thing about this bar is, here is one of the people who works here, and she was okay for me to use the picture of her cuddling the cafe's cat, who has the name Mango. And Mango has a very good life and is much cuddled and very, very well fed by the look of it. Nice being a cafe cat in Amsterdam. You've tried Geneva. Yeah, Geneva is interesting. Let me tell you a little bit about that. So, let's see. I stand to be corrected, but as far as I recall, Geneva predates gin. So, you know, the English were so lucky. What is the best thing that could possibly happen to the English? They could get a Dutch king. William, with William and Mary. Lucky, lucky Brits. Anyway, that was their glorious revolution in 1688. And William would have gone across there with a whole lot of Geneva, being a good Dutchman, you know. And then he would have drunk it all, being a good Dutchman, and had to say something like, "Hey guys, can you please be making for me some Geneva?" And they went, "What's in it?" And he went, "Oh, I don't know. Hey, oh, juniper berries. Grain." Well, they tried to make Geneva and they failed, and they created gin. So when you call Geneva Dutch gin, often Dutch people kind of choke on their Geneva a little, because it's kind of the other way around. Now you get young and old Geneva. That's not to do with how much it's aged. That's to do with whether the recipe was before or after First World War, Second World War, I forget now. I have to look that up. Because there wasn't as much grain around. So what they did is they made a new recipe with less grain. And that is new Geneva, young Geneva. Old Geneva is the old recipe from before the war with more grain. Good, so that is the difference. Now they do also age old Geneva, just to make it more complicated. And it's aged in all sorts of different barrels. And wine barrels, IPA barrels, cognac barrels, port barrels, you name it. And then you get just different hints of flavor. So some of them are like very kind of lighter whiskies, and it's really very interesting to have a bunch of them. Okay. must be said. And there's a nice view of, hey, hello A.O. Hendricks. No, I would never, being a Dutchman myself, we Dutch, never mock a Dutch accent. Anyway, so this brings us to the quiz question. And the quiz question for today. So this is, if you have a slicey already, please don't answer, because I know there are a few people who need to win one still. Okay, so the quiz question is, with the very ugly building I showed you, it had a sculpture on the side by Hilda Kropp. And on the sculpture was a zigzag line. What does that zigzag line represent? Is today's quiz question. No, it's not electricity. I'll walk down to it. Just to repeat the question, okay, let's see. Somebody's got it. I don't know who's first, and we're gonna have to have a look afterwards on YouTube to see who's first, because the chats are often, my chat doesn't agree with your chat. But it certainly is a telephone line, yes. So I can see that Madeline got it, Sue, Zaina, all sorts of people. I'm just not sure who's first. Wow. Oh, they're coming to pick me up. Madeline. Now, Madeline, I believe you've been wanting one. So that's a very good result. Okay, that's great. So we'll check later. But whoever's top, it's probably Madeline. Just reach out to me through any means, and yeah, I'll post that off to you. So thanks for joining. Remember to like it if you liked it. What else? Oh yeah, there's in the description, there's Buy Me a Coffee, and there is PayPal if you want to donate. So yeah, and next week I will be starting in the Ambassador. How cool is that? Great, well you will have one soon, Madeline. That's awesome. Oh gosh, stepped in front of that bicycle. Okay everybody, well thank you for joining, and see you next week. Bye.